What's up YouTube, Pewsily here. I'm going to do another card tech video. This is one's number 2. Choice today is Spirit Reaper because it's become quite a hot tech in Japan. So I'm going to run over it with you, and most of the ideas to do with this are going to be sort of revolving around Blackwings because that's where you're going to see it the most. That's where it seems to get the most advantage because of the dark type. So I'll run over sort of the pros and cons, where you should run it, where you shouldn't run it, siding out and everything like that. So yeah, I mean, the reason Spirit Reaper has suddenly sort of become quite popular, if you go on the Shriek OCG News, which is obviously a massive Yu-Gi-Oh website, you'll see that in Blackwings, which is still top tier over there, teching in a Spirit Reaper has become big. The reason for that is Gladiator Beasts are on a massive decline. They just don't have the sort of speed anymore to keep up with anything like the like when Infernities and everything came out, you couldn't play Gladiator Beasts. There was no way you'd win. So they've just seen a massive drop. And because of that, having a wall isn't such a bad thing anymore because Gladiator Beasts won't get a free tag off of it if you're not fighting Gladiator Beasts. So yeah, I mean that's the big reason it's come back. What you tend to do with this is first turn set, and then because generally if you go to a big tournament you're going to see a lot of Blackwings, you'll see a first turn Shura. And obviously Shura can't run over it, Fire Dog can't over it, so like attacking recruiters get nothing off of this. Anything like a Full Helm Knight, for instance, as well, then they don't get their effects because they can't destroy this. So that's why it's an excellent first turn move. Not only that, but it's going to allow for big pluses. If you can manage to clear the board, very easy now with Dark Hole, for instance, direct attack, discard one card from your opponent's hand, that becomes, this card becomes an instant +1. Because there are so few outs to Spirit Reaper nowadays, if you Book of Moon Spirit Reaper, it doesn't get destroyed, it gets flipped face down. How many decks actually run Fissure and Smashing Ground and things nowadays? And I can only think of gadgets. So because of that, almost all of the top tier decks don't really have many ways to get rid of Spirit Reaper, apart from really synchroing into Bryonak or something like that. So you can almost force your opponent to explode early so that they can't go for an OTK, and then take advantage with a Dark Hole of your own. So you just keep prodding away and getting massive pluses off of it, stripping your opponent's hand. And hand advantage is the big thing at the moment. If you have a hand and your opponent doesn't, you've won. Very few times you ever turn that one around. So being able to take your opponent's hand away from them constantly, because they can't get rid of your Spirit Reaper, but you might have outs, particularly in Blackwings, you have outs to their monsters. You just keep pounding away. So again, the big reason that this has got big in Blackwings is because Blackwings run a very defensive trap lineup at the moment. So you're normally looking at double bottomless trap hole, torrential tribute, solemn warning, 1, 2 or 3 of them, royal oppression, obviously Book of Moons and things like that. So there's so much out there to protect your Spirit Reaper that he just keeps punching away, stripping your opponent's hand. And like I say, the only real way people are going to get rid of this nowadays is Bryonak. So if you're forcing your opponent to synchro into that early, then you've got your defensive back row to help clean that up and keep your Spirit Reaper there, or your opponent's going to try and explode too early, not be able to take you out, and then be left without any resources, all to get rid of Spirit Reaper, so it's not worth it. Another big reason it's come back, it gets under bottomless, it gets under trap hole, and it's not really worth using a solemn warning on. So unless you've got a big field and your opponent has torrential, they're not going to negate the summon. So you're virtually guaranteed 2-3 turns with Spirit Reaper on the field. And in Blackwings, where at the moment the big problem is you're just being plagued with hands without any monsters in them. Even though you're running sort of 20 monsters in your deck, one of them is Dark Arm Dragon, 3 of them are Sirocco, 3 of them are Blizzard that you don't want to really summon until you've got monsters in your graveyard. You're plagued with bad monster hands, and 2 or 3 turns, if this can buy you 3 turns, then you're ready to explode before your opponent is, because you've been stripping their hand. It gives you access as well to other synchros you don't normally have access to, because it's level 3, so it gives you better access to level 5s. Rather than Shura and Veu, you can now go Blizzard and Spirit Reaper and leave your defense position monster for an Icarus attack. So not only do you get level 5, could be Magical Android or Katas or whatever suits your needs, but you've got a Blackwing there for an Icarus attack to hit the back row as soon as anything pops up to protect it, so that's always incredibly flexible. But on top of that, if you have this on the field for a level 3, summon Blizzard to get out a level 4, you've got level 9. So you've now got access to a Mistworm that Blackwings previously hadn't got. That gives you extra back row clearance and more anti-synchro hate. So the amount of synchro flexibility this has given you almost alone makes it worth running. But when you think about on top of that, the top tier deck really for TCG, particularly at the moment, is Plant Synchro. And like I've already said, they're not going to waste Bottomless or Trap Hole or anything like that on this. So you're forcing them to synchro to get over it. And if they're synchroing too early, you can take advantage of that, and they might not be able to bounce back because they don't have the resources. It's simple as that. So, like I say, it's all about the pluses nowadays. If a card gives you more cards than you pay to use it, or if it takes more cards away from your opponent than you pay to use it, generally it's going to be worth running. So with this, you've got a monster on the field, and you're taking cards out of your opponent's hand. So that's giving you pluses of 1, 2, 3. I've seen sort of 4 or 5 off of Spirit Reaper, where the opponent just cannot get, because obviously you've got your Solemn Warnings and everything in the back row, and your opponent has a handful of monsters, then there's nothing they can do. You'll just have to strip them of the monsters that they were going to use to try and take advantage of the fact this has got really small stats. It helps a little bit more on Blackwings because it's dark, which means it's Allure of Darkness fodder, and it's also Dark Arm Dragon fodder, so it's got excellent synergy in that sense. Just the fact that I hate having to drop Kalute with Allure of Darkness. I'm sure I'm not the only one who does that. So Spirit Reaper is pretty perfect for it. If you've already got stuff on the field, there's not a huge amount of point in summoning Reaper, because you don't need to defend if you've got your monsters down. So that's why you go into Catasta and things to do that for you. So you can drop that with Allure. And like I mentioned before, it won't be destroyed by Book of Moon. So Spirit Reaper's effect to be destroyed when it's targeted only activates once the actual effect is resolved. So let's say I play Fissure, it targets this, Fissure would destroy this before this effect kicks in to destroy itself. So with Book of Moon, you activate Book of Moon, so this gets targeted, you have to resolve the effect of Book of Moon before this gets kicked in. So it flips, it's no longer face up, it doesn't have an effect, it won't kill itself. Book of Moon doesn't get rid of it. Most people nowadays as well play Smashing Ground over Fissure. Smashing Ground isn't going to kill this. I mean, if you think of how many things are going to have a higher defense than 200, you basically Fissure and maybe the odd Shrink or anything is the only thing you have to worry about. So like I say, Gadgets, really, or Bryonac. Like I say, mostly about Blackwings, but it can be of use in other stuff. I mean, for, let's say plants, they tend to stall for a couple of turns before they actually go for the OTK, so they'll use tokens and Rykos and things to hold out until they've got enough resources and push with 4 or 5 synchros to go for game. So Reaper can help with that. It's a good stall, it's a nice wall that, as I've said before, people will struggle to get over. And then because it's going to give you nice access to different levels, because he's level 3, it could even be better. It might give them access to Mistworms and things that they've never had before. So for instance, if they go Debris Dragon to revive a Raikou, you've got Raikou level 2, Debris Dragon level 4, this level 3, so that's level 9, gets you access to Mistworm. And Monarchs as well, so it's almost guaranteed to stay on the field for next turn. So you've got Tribute fodder if you don't open with a potential Treeborn play, so that's why it's good there. And then just sort of generically, like I said, it excellent against what I call attacking recruiters, like Fullhelm Knight, Fire Dog and Shura, the big ones. If they cannot destroy the monster, they don't get their effects off. So, you know, in a mirror match, Spirit Reaper is great to just prevent any sort of Shura sort of play. And it's also good against Light Sworn and any sort of Light Sworn variant like Spore Lords and things if you're going for the deck out win. The downsides though, so the reason that people stopped playing Spirit Reaper largely was because of Gladiator Beast. They get a free tag off of it, so they can attack into it and go into Mamillo to pop any of your bigger monsters if you have any on the field. Like I said, it's not such a problem anymore because you might only see, if you go to a locals, you might see 1, maybe 2 Gladiator Beast decks, so chances are you won't even go against them, and you can always side this out or just not play it. The sort of big one with it though is that Borer and Armed Wing will pierce straight through this. It's only got 200 defense. It's almost like a direct attack, so you have to watch out for Borers. So if you are in a mirror match playing Spirit Reaper, save your bottomless trap holes and things for Borers. And this, while it's on the field, if you do a direct attack and your opponent only has one card in their hand, and if that card is Gores, your opponent can activate Gores to special summon itself before you get to discard it. And yeah, just like I've said, it's just easily susceptible to cards like Shrink. So although your only real threat, to be honest, is Borer and a gadget deck, it's just an excellent tech choice, particularly for Blackwings, just because it's going to help you with those monster problems. If you just got problems of clogging up spells in your hand and not having enough fuel to get more monsters out, and just giving you the advantage over your opponent's hand, those two alone make it worth running. So I'm going to try it out, and because of that, potentially worth running a Sangam just to search it and also fuel your own hand and better synchro fodder. And then because you're running Sangam, it might even be worth running Breeze, because obviously when it's searched by Sangam, it will special summon itself to give you field presence again. So Spirit Reaper gives you lots of tech choices. So just to summarise, it's a great wall, excellent fodder for Allure of Darkness and Dark Armed Dragon. You get pluses off of it, big reason to play it. If you attack once and strip one card, this card's a +1, and it's still on the field, so you've still got the potential to do that. And the other big one is you can almost force your opponent to explode too early, so that then you take advantage of the fact they've run out of resources and haven't killed you. So there we go, that's the next of my particular tech updates. As always, they'll be sort of focused around Blackwings. If you want to see anything else, if you want me to do any particular card, let me know. Peace.